Although it is too early to say this, I'm fairly excited to see James Gunn's Superman. But why don't we take it back down to memory lane and check out all 5 Superman films. Four of them starring Christoipher Reeves, and 1 starring Brandon Routh. Routh. There's no F. So let's look at the original Superman from 1978. This was the film that, in a way, started the whole superhero film genre. It came out in 1978. It was directed by Richard Donner. Cast including Marlon Brando as Jor-El, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Christopher Reeves as Clark Kent / Superman, Ned Beatty as Otis, Lex Luthor's bumbling henchman, Jackie Cooper as Perry White, Glenn Ford as Jonathan Kent, Trevor Howard and Mark Kidder as Lois Lane. So what was this film about? Well, the film was basically the telling of Superman's origin story, as well as, in a way, the introduction of, say, how here's his powers, here is how, his job at the Daily Planet, and as well as his first interaction with his arch enemy, Lex Luthor.
You tell me that I'm brilliant? Oh, no. That would be too obvious. I grant you. Charismatic. Fiendishly gifted.
Try twisted.
Get away!
Tell me something, Lex. Why do so many people have to die for the crime of the century?
When the film came out at the time, the film was the most expensive film made up to that point, with a budget of $55 million. And here's the idea. The idea of a Superman film came out in 1973, and after a difficult process with DC Comics, the Sledkins bought the rights to the character the following year. And several directors had recently were going to be involved in it, such as Guy Hamilton, and the screenwriters were associated with the project before Richard Donner was hired to direct. And this is coming from an individual who has not seen all 4 of the original, Superman films. Yes, I had not seen these films, before. I mean, I've seen clips of them, but I had not had the chance to just sit down and watch them. And looking back, I still have to say this film, in a way, holds up. I gotta say, there are a lot of moments of this film that are quite a lot of, in a way, moments that I'll say, okay, this is why at the time it was pretty much a spectacle. Whether it was the sequence in which Superman is trying to save Lois Lane in the helicopter. And, yes, this is a film from 1978, and, nowadays, we look back at, say, probably some folks do, and think, say, oof, we don't really remember how, whoa, the effects were still pretty good. And I honestly say it's still rather exciting. I mean, yes, I can understand someone being, a little bit pessimistic in the idea, say, oh, it's a Superman film franchise, but no punchies.
He's definitely coming, Mr. Luthor. It's open. Come in.
But, well, yes, I understand that, but one thing this film series does was it tried to have Superman be the symbol of him, being, the the simple idea of, like, truth, American, being a symbol of, that great big blue Boy Scout, And I think Reeves did a great job in the film.
It's all right, nothing to get worried about.
Oh, don't just sit there like a numbskull. Get out!
At the same time, I also think since this is the introduction of Lex Luthor in the film, I think Hackman did a great job as a character. It's still a fun film to come back to. And yes, like say, there are some goofy moments because, like, of the character of Otis, played by Ned Beatty. They all have, like, a lot of fun in this film. And it was really kind of surprising how the death of Paul Kent, I'd say it was, like, rather, like, whoa, it went by fairly quick. I did not expect that. But, yeah, this film is still a film, looking back, that's great to come back to. Also, in a way, introduces to the characters of Zod. Like, who they basically be introduced at the beginning of the film during the destruction of Krypton, as the way they will be introduced in the second film. And then in 1980, Superman 2 would come out. It was also directed by Richard Donner. The film had a story was done by the story was done by Mario Puzo. The cast members for this film include Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Christoipher Reeve as Superman / Clark Kent, Ned Beatty as Otis, Jackie Cooper as Perry White, Sarah Douglas as Ursa,
Primitive sort of life form. Did you see that? Did you see what I did? I have powers beyond reason.
Mark Kidder as Lois Lane, Jackie Harlan as Non, Claire Stamp as General Zod,
Get him! Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen. And I gotta say, yes, the first film was good. Like, the effects from it were really great. This film is still pretty entertaining. The thing, like, some plots of this film include that, like, whenever, like, say, Lois and Clark are out, she's always trying to, like, say, okay, now, Clark, are you really, are you Superman? Because she starts to put two and together, like, say, whenever they're together, suddenly Superman shows up, and all that. Say she's gonna say, aha, but then again, she is a great reporter, so she can put two and two together. And so in the film, the main antagonists are Zod and his crew, along with Lex Luthor, who's basically trying to say, hey, well, maybe if I can get some help or some added muscle and to help me out, because one of the things that Clark does, or Superman does, is he basically says, I love Lois Lane, I'm going to give up my powers in a way, so that, he can be a normal human with her. And that is one of the subplots while all the action goes on, in which Zod's character is, trying to, take over the White House, or take over the world. And yeah, it's a fairly great film. I do love the fight sequences, but yes again, are pretty great. Whether it's the effects of the laser eyes and all that stuff. It's all a fairly good, entertaining film to come back to. Becker's still really well written. Along with the acting, although there is a sequence where I thought, okay, that seems hilarious. Like, there's a sequence in which a kid is just goofing off, like, on, like, say, some some railing near the, Niagara Falls. And, like, when it's showing him fall off, I did think, okay, the way, like, you know, like, I couldn't tell, like, the effect of it, or if it was actually an actor. I couldn't help kind of laughing a little bit. But, overall, this is a film coming back to. In 1983, we had Superman 3, which was directed by Richard Lester, and it had a screenplay by David Newman. And in this, the film had a new cast, besides returning cast, including Christopher Reeves, Jackie Hooper. We also had Richard Pryor, Mark McClure, and Annette O'Toole, Annie Ross Long, and all, as well as other characters. So, like, the main antagonist of the film is, in this case, Ross Bubba Webster, who is basically a super wealthy industrialist and philanthropist, who basically is trying to take over, you know, trying to get a world supply of the world's oil. And he has basically he's trying to say, hey, one of the characters, in this case, Gus Gorman, played by Richard Pryor, who's basically just trying to go through life and get a job, and he ends up, you know, working for Ross, and so like say, hey, you seem to be a smart guy, and in a way, they are able to, like, cause a shift in which Superman, his main personality, changes to being frumpy and, you know, less, you know, selfish in a way. So, one of the things I think makes this film kind of interesting is the sequence in which Superman is fighting himself. It's a fairly good one. I kind of like the idea of that. Like, you know, you're fighting your own personal demons. And yes, I think the film has its silly moments, and yeah, at the same time, I'm gonna say this, I kind of like the fact they decided to take that bit of a risk. And yes, I think Richard Pryor's character, Gus, was funny, like whether he was like trying to get the security guard drunk.
There's vodka in it now, buddy.
Yeah, perfect.
You never do pass out, do you?
Nope.
It's kind of funny. And as the, you know, film went along, I can slowly go on introducing and find, this isn't terribly bad. And yeah, I kind of enjoyed it, and now I think about it. But yeah, I did think, like, most of the silly aspects of it, like, since it had more of a humor aspect of it, like, say, ever so often, like, Clark is trying to, like, talk with his old classmate, in this case, Lana, and whose basically son is a big fan of Superman, which, like, yeah, I kind of like that idea of the Superman is trying to, like, say, always, you know, hey, Superman, like, what's going on, buddy? Or all that, because, you know, it makes it seem like, okay. It shows, like, say, hey, Superman is, like, you know, like, Clark Kent is always trying to be the good Boy Scout, and at the same time, like, whenever he has those times when he is having those days when it's, like, say, oh boy, it's like, say, okay, I need to remember, it's for the kids. It's for those people that down there that need this guy that is willing to be there. That's, I don't know. I thought it was really good.
Come on. Excuse me.
it wasn't great, but I thought it was alright. This is not me giving a review of it, though. In 1987, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, came out. This was the... it is the 5th film, although it's not including 1984 Supergirl. I'm surprised we didn't talk about that film. The film marks the final appearance of Reeves as Superman, who agreed to return in exchange for a large salary and some creative control, where he can contribute to a script dealing with nuclear disarmament. And so basically that is the whole plot of the film, in which Superman is having to say, okay, there's too much nuclear energy going on. I'm willing to throw all these nuclear missiles into space. And the thing that Lex Luthor is doing is he is basically saying, hey, you know what's the biggest thing of nuclear energy? The sun. So he decides, hey, I'm going to create a being using Clark's, Superman's hair, and in a way recreate a being similar to Superman. And so we have a another film, since Superman 2, in which he is going up against a individual who has powers as well. And yeah, I kind of thought this one was pretty good. It didn't have as much of a humor as the 3rd film, but at the same time, is it entertaining? Yes, I kind of like the fight sequences. I like the bit of effects they do for Nuclear Man. And yeah, I thought it was okay, I kind of thought that since this will be the last Superman film with Reeves, he did a good job in this film. I thought he did. Yeah, there are some goofy moments, say, the sidekick to Lex Luthor in this film is his nephew, who is, even though this film came in 1987, he has almost a typical, surfer dude energy, whoa, almost, the vibes of, you'd see from the Wild Stallions, almost, if you're wondering what, Bill and Ted. A idea of war in a way, but I thought this would have been this feels like something that would have been done in the comics as well. So yeah, overall, maybe you should check it out. So we're back. So for this, Superman Returns was directed by Bryan Singer and had it done by a screenplay by Michael Dougherty, Dan Harris, and it was also had a story by Bryan Singer and Michael Dougherty. So what this film does is it was a sequel to the homage sequel to Superman and Superman 2, while ignoring the events of Superman 3, Supergirl, and Superman 4. The film starred Brandon Routh as Clark Kent / Superman, Kate Boswell as Lois Lane, Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, with James Marsden, Frank Langella, Eva Meyer Saint, and Frank Posey in supporting roles. So the film is centered on Superman as he returns to Earth after a 5-year absence, where he discovers his love interest, Lois Lane, has moved on for life, and his archenemy, Lex Luthor, is plotting a scheme to kill him and reshape North America. So I thought this one was, looking back at it, because I didn't see this film in theaters. I've seen parts of it, when people were trying, when this one came out DVD and all that, people were trying to show it off and all that. I thought this was pretty good. I was a little bit surprised that, like, since this one came out in 2006, like, this from Bryan Singer, who directed 2 of the X-Men films, that I'm a little bit surprised that there wasn't at least one punchy moment. But from what the film gives us when it comes to elements of, like, say, spectacle, it has that. Whether it is the giant sequence in which Superman is saving the airplane that Lois Lane is on, that's going to be shipped off to outer space. For the trip, and the fact that Lois Lane, she is like unsure, like say, the world doesn't need Superman. But I'm thinking in her perspective is, I don't need Superman because she is like a mother now. She has a guy that she really loves, and she's just thinking like say, this guy that I really liked, Superman, he's suddenly gone and all that, and people move on in life. That makes sense to me. And at the same time, I thought Kevin Spacey did a great job as Lex Luthor.
Come on, let me hear you say it just once. Come on.
You're insane.
No! That. No, the other thing. Come on, I know it's just dangling out the tip of your tongue. Let me hear it just once, please.
Superman will never...
WRONG!
And he taking over for Gene Hackman. And there are some moments of it where I thought, okay, spectacles, great. Whether it's the sequence in which he is also the train sequence, I thought, okay, this is pretty cool when it comes to how destructive these crystals are. And also how, I'll be honest, there are some iconic moments, I think, like the sequence in which he is flying through the ceiling of the Daily Planet through the elevators. That's pretty cool. And it has some homages to the comics, if you pay attention, like in which Superman is holding the Daily Planet globe, because it almost falls out and almost kills Perry White. And yeah, I feel like say one thing that I have thoughts of this film, I saw how they gave brought back that little bit of hope, that little bit of charm in a way to Superman. Oh, the one I did have to say, one moment from Superman Returns that I actually kind of liked was that I kind of like the idea of Superman having a son that he doesn't really know about. Because it's really saying, oh, he has a son, is because when Lois Lane is in trouble, Jason just pushes a piano and just kills a dude. And I kind of liked it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I thought the moments of, spectacle were pretty good. And I think, what I'm excited for when it comes to the next Superman film is a mixture of spectacle and at the same time that sense of, the Blue Boy Scout, and at the same time, that moment of a bit of action. Humor. I'm excited for what James Gunn's going to come up with. But what are your thoughts on all the original Superman films? See you next time.